Chapter 21. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Obito, I will pile up people to kill you. The next moment, the masked man chuckled, and then the whole person gradually faded and disappeared completely. Qianye. Qianye recognized it immediately. This is Uchiha Obito's Mangekyo Sharingan ninjutsu, Qianye. It can transfer itself or any object to another space to avoid attacks and pass through barriers. At the same time, it can also absorb and release itself to move quickly. It is a kind of space-type ninjutsu and is very powerful. At this time, a vortex slowly appeared behind Qianye, and the masked man revealed his figure silently. He held a kunai in his hand and stabbed it hard. Qianye seemed to be unaware from beginning to end. The kunai stabbed heavily. However, the scene of blood spurting out did not appear. Qianye, who was originally motionless, was like a bubble. The moment he was touched, he suddenly disappeared and shattered. Clone. The masked man was a little surprised. With his Mangekyo Sharingan, he didn't even notice that it was a clone. No wonder he could kill Kuroki Raiga, one of the 7 ninja swordsmen, in seconds. This kid is not simple. At this moment, the masked man suddenly felt a strong sense of crisis coming towards him. Divine power. The Mangekyo Sharingan ninjutsu was immediately released, and a vortex appeared, making himself virtual. At the same time, he turned his body and looked back. It was Qianye. He quietly deployed a clone to hide from the masked man's sight, then he took action at the most unexpected time. He used this killing move. From the initial planning to the implementation process, even the masked man's reaction and response, almost all of them were the same, without the slightest deviation. Damn. This kid. I didn't expect that. I still underestimated him. The masked man couldn't help but shrink his pupils. The kunai fell heavily with lightning speed. After Qianye became a true Kage-level strongman with wood release, his various abilities have been significantly enhanced, especially after opening the Sharingan. His strength was greatly improved. Even if Qianye does not use wood release and does not open the Mangekyo Sharingan, he is still stronger than the average Kage-level warrior, especially in physical skills. With the enhancement of the Otsutsuki physique, it has reached a level that ordinary people cannot imagine. The divine power is gradually virtualizing the masked man's body. The speed of virtualization is very fast, however. Compared with Qianye's speed, it is still somewhat insufficient. When the kunai fell, the masked man's divine power had not completely virtualized his body. Hiss. A gorgeous blood flower burst out in the air. The masked man groaned, continued to use the divine power, and the whole person's body disappeared completely. When he reappeared, the masked man was already several meters away from Qianye. The wide sleeves were torn, and there were a few bloodstains on them. It was exactly the place where Qianye stabbed just now. At this time, the masked man looked at Qianye with no contempt in his eyes, and truly regarded Qianye as an existence of the same level. You hit it really well. I didn't expect you could reach this level. I'm afraid that just relying on physical skills, he is no less powerful than a Kage-level warrior. The Uchiha clan is better at physical skills. Ha. Interesting. The novel was taken from the Rawlers website. Close where you're reading it and support us on our website for more free novels. Although he said so, the masked man did not feel relaxed at all, but was deeply apprehensive. Even though he had seen many talented teenagers, he had also encountered many incredible physical skills, but compared with Qianye, they were all very different. No matter how strong other people were, there were traces to follow. Ninjutsu and physical skills always had flaws, but Qianye's series of reactions were more like the body's instinctive reactions. He did not need to use any ninjutsu or physical skills at all, which was enough to deal with most people in the world, and it was completely casual, without any traces. That means, there is almost no clear way to stop it. This is a bit too perverted. Qianye sneered and looked at the masked man indifferently. He wanted to be low-key, but that did not mean he had to swallow his anger. He could not do it without taking action when being tracked and monitored like this. Appropriately showing one's strength can, to a certain extent, play a role in shocking the tiger, so as to avoid more trouble. Qianye's trump card now is. There are 3 Otsutsuki physiques, wood release, and Mangekyo Sharingan. Among them, wood release and Mangekyo Sharingan were obtained not long ago, and no one knows about them. they can be kept as trump cards to give everyone a surprise on the night of the genocide. The Otsutsuki physique was exposed when he fought with Kuroki Raiga, one of the 7 ninja swordsmen. However, no one thought that this was the legendary Otsutsuki physique, and it was more attributed to super high physical skills. This is also the reason why Qianye chose it. First, it has been exposed once before. Second, it is very deceptive, and even if he uses it again, others will not notice it. Thus, his strength is concealed to a large extent. The result is not disappointing at all. The Otsutsuki physique is worthy of being called the body of God and the immortal body. Especially after he was truly called a shadow-level powerhouse, his speed, endurance, self-healing, and resistance to blows have been improved to an incredible level. Even the shadow-level powerhouse like the masked man failed to react and suffered a little loss. Good. Very good. The masked man left such a sentence, then he slowly disappeared from the spot with his divine power activated. Of course, he was not afraid. As a strong man who opened the Mangekyo Sharingan, he always had absolute confidence in himself. However, after the test, he found that Qianye was not someone he could easily deal with. Qianye's strength was somewhat beyond his estimation. The battle with a strong man of this level could not go unnoticed. His whereabouts would inevitably be exposed. That would be very detrimental to what he was about to do soon. This situation must not be allowed to happen. So, he chose to leave. For him, although this test was a bit unexpected, it was not completely in vain. At least, he knew that there was Qianye in the Uchiha clan. Such a shadow-level warrior with abnormally strong physical skills. Otherwise, if he knows nothing and has no preparation, changes are inevitable. But now, he can prepare and deploy well. It is difficult for him to deal with Qianye alone, but what if there are 2? 2 is not enough. What if there are 4? Unknown dangers are the most terrifying. As for the known, there is always a solution. After watching the masked man disappear into a vortex, Qianye sensed it carefully again, and after making sure that no one was following him, he left and walked towards home. He believed that after this lesson, the root organization, the masked man, and Jew should not dare to follow him without authorization. 3-day summer promotion. Recharge 100 to get 500 VIP points. Recharge now. Activity time, August 13th to August 15th. Chapter 22. You are listening at novelfull.audio. We Uchiha are planning a rebellion. After returning home, Qianye did not miss any opportunity to practice and improve himself. Even for him now, the improvement brought by this level of practice is negligible. The practice path of a ninja is like this. Once you reach a very high stage, it will be very difficult to improve again. Only through accumulation over time or some adventure can there be a big improvement. But for Qianye now, even if it is only an extremely small improvement, it is precious to him. After all, the more strength, the more security. Practice for one night. Qianye had just arrived at the Konoha guard department on the second day, and he was called to the office of the patriarch of the Uchiha clan and the head of the Konoha guard department. Qianye, come in. Uchiha Fugaku's voice came from the office. Qianye strode in. In the room, in addition to Uchiha Fugaku, there were several people with very high status in the Uchiha clan. There were old men, and young and middle-aged people. Patriarch. Yeah. Fugaku responded, raised his head, glanced at Qianye with a smile on his face, and a hint of surprise flashed in his eyes as last time. I don't know why, every time I see Qianye recently, I will give him a different feeling, and this feeling is gradually deepening. However, he didn't say much. Everyone has his own secrets. As long as it doesn't endanger the Uchiha clan, he doesn't bother to care about them. After Qianye came in, Fugaku ordered people to guard the door, and then ordered people to guard the door. He looked serious, as if he had some secrets that he was afraid of being known. After doing all this, Uchiha Fugaku asked everyone to sit down and prepare to say something. However, what he didn't know was that on an unknown high-rise building, several members of Konoha's Umbu were staring at all this. Uchiha Fugaku and the core members of the clan held a meeting in the guard department. Among them is Uchiha Chiba, who has never appeared before. Go and report to the Hokage immediately. Yes. A member of the Umbu took the order and disappeared in an instant. Inside Fugaku's office, Qianye and more than a dozen people gathered around a long wooden table. As the clan leader, Uchiha Fugaku sat at one end. Qianye had never participated in such a meeting before, but this did not prevent Qianye from knowing what they were going to do. As a time traveler, he knew clearly the current movements of the Uchiha clan. And the result was not beyond Qianye's expectations, after everyone was seated. The clan leader Uchiha Fugaku looked at Qianye and said seriously, "Qianye, a few days ago you killed Kuroki Raiga, one of the 7 ninja swordsmen of the Hidden Mist, alone, and demonstrated your strength. There are some things you should know. We, the Uchiha clan, are planning to rebel." "What?" Qianye pretended to be a little surprised, as if he couldn't believe it, although he already knew everything. Wouldn't it be too suspicious if he showed no surprise at this time? "Clan leader, are we going to rebel?" Qianye looked directly at Uchiha Fugaku and said in shock, "Yes." Fugaku nodded and said in a deep voice, "The tense atmosphere between us and Konoha village must have been noticed by Qianye a long time ago. Over the years, our Uchiha clan has been excluded and harassed by the Konoha high-level officials. Not only did they drive us away from Konoha village, they also sent ANBU to monitor us day and night. Yes. This is intolerable. I have long disliked these people from Konoha. Rebellion. Rebellion. We, the Uchiha clan, were the great contributors to the founding of Konoha, but because of the exclusion by the Konoha high-level officials, not only do we have no power at all, but we were even squeezed here. The people in Konoha have always held deep hostility towards our Uchiha clan. If we don't rebel now, we will be forced to death by them sooner or later. Fight. The worst that can happen is that both sides will be destroyed." Fugaku's words quickly aroused the response of the Uchiha backbone forces nearby. They were indignant, their faces flushed, and they talked about the injustice of Konoha to the Uchiha clan. They just wanted to rush out and fight Konoha to the death. Qianye didn't say a word during the whole process, but just frowned, as if he was a little entangled and hesitant. "Qianye, what are you still hesitating about? Don't forget which clan you belong to." Next to him, a core member of the Uchiha clan immediately said dissatisfiedly, as a member of the Uchiha clan, he could remain indifferent and silent when he heard how Konoha persecuted them step by step. "It's really abominable." Fugaku hurriedly stopped them and interrupted these people's accountability. Then he looked at Qianye and waited quietly for Qianye's reply. In Fugaku's eyes, this was how Qianye should behave. If he agreed directly at once, he would feel that something was wrong. Qianye is low-key, cautious and meticulous by nature. He has already understood these very clearly from the previous missions. Every step Qianye takes is carefully considered, and he will never make a decision because of a momentary anger in his heart. What's more, being an enemy of Konoha is a matter of life and death, and it cannot be sloppy at all. After a while, Qianye slowly raised his head, looked directly at Fugaku, and said 3 words, "I join." Hearing these 3 words, the expressions of the core members of the Uchiha clan present relaxed. Uchiha Fugaku also stood up, walked in front of Qianye, patted his shoulder and said, "Okay. With your joining, Qianye, our Uchiha clan's rebellion will have a better chance of success. This time, our main target of the rebellion is the leader of Konoha's root organization, Danzo. It is precisely because Danzo kept interfering that our Uchiha clan is in the current situation. Our mission this time is to get rid of Danzo and take back the status that our Uchiha clan deserves." "What happens next?" Qianye asked casually. "Planning a rebellion is not an easy task. Killing Danzo may not be difficult, but what happens next? The Uchiha clan is certainly not weak, but it is still inferior to the huge Konoha. A head-on confrontation will not gain any benefits, but will only bring disaster to the entire Uchiha clan. In the end, it will still be difficult to escape the fate of being destroyed. You can't expect to reconcile with Konoha after killing Danzo." Although Qianye only responded verbally, he didn't think that the Uchiha clan could really accomplish anything big, but he still asked casually, "Hehehe." Fugaku laughed and said, "We have just started to think about rebellion, and the details are still being planned. This is a major event for our Uchiha clan, so we should take a long-term view and not rush it. 3-day summer promotion, top up 100 and get 500 VIP points. Top up now." Activity time, August 13th to August 15th. Chapter 23. You are listening at novelfull.audio. How can I rebel with a bunch of insects like you? In response, Qianye just nodded, and said nothing more on the surface, but he was even more disdainful in his heart. Danzo and the Root organization are about to take action against the Uchiha clan, but the so-called rebellion of the Uchiha clan did not even have a real clear plan. How could it succeed? Then, Uchiha Fugaku made some bold words in public. The backbones and elites of the Uchiha clan present were excited. Qianye was not interested at all. What Fugaku said was just empty words and unrealistic fantasies. In the end, under the high atmosphere at the scene, the rally ended. There were many backbone members of the Uchiha clan who wanted to invite Qianye to eat and drink together later. Now Qianye has officially joined them, such a powerful person who can kill Kuroki Raiga. One of the 7 ninja swordsmen, is worth their efforts. Qianye refused all of them. He had no interest in contacting these people at all. There was no meaning at all. It was just a waste of time. It is inevitable that these people will feel a little unhappy when their cordial invitation is rejected. However, considering Qianye's usual low-key, withdrawn and unsociable personality, it is not too surprising. In the evening, Qianye returned home. This time, there was no sign of anyone tracking him. Just when Qianye thought that the masked man and Danzo would not make any more moves for a while, he suddenly found a figure standing against the wall in front of his door. He was not very old, about 13 or 14 years old. He wore the unique clothing of the Uchiha clan and carried a samurai sword on his back. He had a handsome face and delicate features. His long black hair was tied up casually. There were 2 obvious tear grooves on his fair face. Uchiha, Itachi. Seeing this figure, Qianye's whole spirit was tense almost instantly. This was a completely instinctive reaction. In the simulation, he had experienced dozens of life-and-death duels with the extremely powerful boy in front of him. But soon, he realized that this was in reality, and he returned to his usual calmness and indifference. He looked at Uchiha Itachi. Are you waiting for me? Yes. Uchiha Itachi looked at Qianye calmly and nodded. Would it be convenient for you to chat for a few minutes? Qianye did not refuse. He could feel that Uchiha Itachi had no hostility towards him. The two walked back to the house together, brewed a pot of tea, and sat opposite each other. You have also heard about what we, the Uchiha clan, are going to do. Uchiha Itachi spoke first. Qianye's eyes flashed, and he pretended not to know. While pouring tea, he said, What are you talking about? Uchiha Itachi said, Rebellion. Qianye's hand that was pouring tea paused in the air, and then slowly sat down. As the son of the patriarch of the Uchiha clan and a famous genius ninja of the Uchiha clan, it was not surprising that Itachi knew the news. What was surprising was why Itachi found him here on this issue. He and Uchiha Itachi had no intersection before. Qianye paused slightly, then said, It should be an uprising, right? Maybe, but what's the point? Itachi frowned slightly, with a rare trace of struggle, hesitation, and pain on his face. For the Uchiha clan, wanting to be treated fairly and to regain their rightful status is an uprising. But for Konoha, this is a complete rebellion. That there will definitely be a big battle between the two sides. When two tigers fight, both will suffer. No matter who wins, it won't be too easy. Other villages will definitely not miss such an opportunity. They will take advantage of the chaos. It is very likely to turn into another ninja world war. When Itachi was young, he witnessed the cruelty of war with his own eyes. Every time he thought of the bloody scene, he felt disgusted from the bottom of his heart. He did not want to see such a scene happen again. Qianye said calmly, This is a conflict between the Uchiha clan and Konoha. It is difficult for us to change it, but, what if I can change it? Before Qianye could finish, Uchiha Itachi interrupted. His expression was complicated, with struggle, hesitation, pain, and expectation. Qianye tactically picked up the teacup and took a sip slowly. Ordinary people might not hear anything from it, but Qianye was different. He knew what change Itachi was talking about. It was not to change the contradiction between the Uchiha clan and Konoha. It was to change the situation where Konoha and the Uchiha clan would fight and both sides would suffer losses. That is, the night of the Uchiha clan's extermination. As a member of the Uchiha clan, he had to wield the butcher knife against his own clansmen. No wonder even a man with a mind as strong as iron like Uchiha Itachi showed such an expression. Once the ninja world war begins, countless innocent people will die and countless lives will be lost. Itachi sighed. and his expression became a little lonely. Just as Qianye had imagined, Itachi and him had no intersection. At most, they were from the same clan and had met a few times. He came here because he had a major decision recently. Reason told him that this was the best choice, and he knew that he would definitely do it, but he still wanted to get an affirmation. If Sasuke was here, he would probably make the same choice as him, but Sasuke was gone, so he came to Qianye, this person who always liked to be alone and rarely get close to others. But whether it was Itachi's father Uchiha Fugaku, or his only good friend Uchiha Sasuke, they all had a very high opinion of such a person. He wanted to know from Qianye what Qianye would do if he faced this choice. He needed a positive answer and wanted the answer he wanted to hear, but he was disappointed. Qianye sat in front of him and didn't say anything. Now, Uchiha Itachi has been brainwashed by the inheritance theory of Konoha, where the leaves dance, the fire will continue to burn. The flames will continue to illuminate the village and make new leaves sprout. His few words could not change anything. It was even more impossible to prevent the Uchiha clan from being exterminated. Itachi did not wait for the answer he wanted. He was silent for a while, exhaled a long breath, and stood up. Excuse me. Then he turned and left. Yes, this is the choice he faces. How can others give the answer? He sighed softly and walked forward. At that time, the sky had darkened. It was pitch black all around, just like the road Itachi was about to take. It made him a little difficult to make a decision. However, one thing is certain, since he has decided, he will never change it. 3-day summer discount event, charge 100 and get 500 VIP points. Grab the top up now. Event time, August 13th to August 15th. Chapter 24. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Conversation between Itachi and the masked man. Uchiha Itachi was walking alone in the dark night. Halfway through his journey, he suddenly stopped. Come out. Itachi said calmly. In front of him, a vortex appeared in the void, and gradually a figure emerged from it. He was wearing a black robe and a samurai sword at his waist. He wore an orange mask with black stripes on his face, revealing only one eye. Masked man. I didn't expect you and Uchiha Qianye have some friendship. The masked man said in his usual low voice. It seems that everything is under his control. Itachi looked calm and didn't say anything. He didn't need anyone to say anything when he did things, and he didn't need to explain to anyone. The two were silent for a while, and after a while, the masked man said, Itachi, there is a problem with our plan this time. Trouble? Uchiha Itachi asked back, with a hint of surprise. The masked man in front of him claimed to be Uchiha Madara. Whether this was true or not was not mentioned for the time being. One thing that could be confirmed was the strength of the masked man. This was a person who had opened the Mangekyo Sharingan, and his pupil technique was a very rare space-type ninjutsu, that was a ninjutsu involving space. He didn't know how lethal it was, but if it was a defense, even he was not completely sure that he could hurt the masked man. It could be said that he was inherently invincible. To be considered a trouble by such a person, it was definitely not simple. Well, it's a big trouble. The masked man said calmly. Oh. Who is it? Itachi asked. The masked man did not respond directly, but asked back. What do you guess? Itachi looked at the masked man with his eyes slightly narrowed. He and the masked man were both at the level of Kage, and those who could be considered troublesome by them should at least be Kage-level strongmen. And in Konoha, apart from the legendary 3 ninjas who were wandering outside, there were not many who had the strength of Kage. The third Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen, the leader of the root organization Danzo, and his father Uchiha Fugaku. In addition to these 3, there might be some forces hidden in the dark in Konoha. However, the current Konoha and the masked man are in a cooperative relationship. Konoha will not touch the masked man at all. In other words, no matter the hidden forces of Konoha, or the third Hokage and Danzo, they will not become a problem for them. The only one left is his father, Uchiha Fugaku, but this was already part of their plan, and they already had a plan to deal with it. Naturally, it would not be the trouble mentioned by the masked man, but who else could it be if not his father? Itachi's eyes showed a thoughtful look. For some reason, he always felt that he had overlooked something. Suddenly, his eyes flashed, and a name suddenly popped up in his mind, a person who he originally thought was impossible, but a strong intuition told him that it was. Is it Uchiha Qianye? The masked man nodded. What? Itachi was obviously a little surprised. Just now, when he came out of Qianye's house, he didn't realize that there was such a powerful ninja in front of him. The masked man who claimed to be Uchiha Madara was so afraid. Has he also opened the Mangekyo Sharingan? Uchiha Itachi asked. Only the Mangekyo Sharingan can fight against the Mangekyo Sharingan. This is a consensus. If the Mangekyo is not opened, the opponent is not at the same level. However, the masked man shook his head and said, no, his Sharingan is still in the 3 Magatama state. 3 Magatama. Itachi was a little disappointed. 3 Magatama were a threat. He relies on physical skills, unparalleled physical skills. The masked man laughed. The ninjas of the Uchiha clan are better at physical skills. Heh. Itachi quickly remembered. The previous description of the battle between Qianye and Kuroki Raiga was that they defeated the enemy with super physical skills. Physical skills, the Sharingan in the 3 Magatama state, coupled with unparalleled physical skills, can it pose a threat to him who has opened the Mangekyo Sharingan? He didn't believe it. Only those who truly possess the Mangekyo Sharingan know how amazing the ability of such a pair of eyes is. Even physical skills of the same level cannot gain any advantage when facing the Sharingan. Itachi looked at the masked man. You are too cautious. The Mangekyo Sharingan is enough to crush everything. Maybe. The masked man did not say much. If he had not experienced it himself, how could he believe that a person's physical skills were so exaggerated that even he was injured? But he obviously would not say this. After all, he now calls himself Uchiha Madara, so he still has to be cool. He just warned, Itachi, don't underestimate Uchiha Qianye. He is stronger than you think, and may even become the biggest obstacle when we implement our plan. Itachi Uchiha looked calm, said nothing, and walked forward directly, because there was nothing to say. It is true that you should not underestimate any opponent, but at the same time, you must have absolute confidence in yourself. He has the Mangekyo Sharingan. Qianye only has the 3 Magatama Sharingan. Even if he has a stronger physical skill, it doesn't matter. The 3 Magatama can't be the opponent of the Mangekyo. This is the source of his confidence and his greatest reliance. Behind Itachi, in the darkness, the masked man stared at the young man who was always confident in himself, low-key and deep, and his eyes gradually became a little trance. This reminded him of some long-sealed memories. Konoha's genius ninja. When did he have such a partner by his side? They used to practice together, do missions together, live and die together. They are friends, brothers, and people who can sacrifice their lives for each other. And, Lin, the vision in front of his eyes gradually blurred, and gradually formed the shape of a girl, short brown hair, dark brown pupils, and 2 purple patterns on her face. The girl was looking at him with a smile, and that smile was warm, sincere, and intoxicating. But soon, the picture in front of him changed. The warm and sincere smile on the girl's face disappeared, and became painful and weak, with a trace of blood at the corner of her mouth. Then, the whole picture shattered back to reality. It was dark. Uchiha Itachi had gone far away, just like the people who were with him back then. The masked man's Sharingan turned even more blood red. The whole person trembled unconsciously. It is hard to imagine that this man called Uchiha Madara, who has always been calm and majestic, would have such a fragile side. He murmured in an almost inaudible voice, Lin, I want to create a world with you. 3-day summer promotion, top up 100 and get 500 VIP points. Top up now. Activity time, August 13th to August 15th. Chapter 25. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Meeting Orochimaru. On the Hokage Rock in Konoha, there are carvings of the successive Hokages of Konoha village since its establishment. The first Hokage, Hashirama Senju, was the ninja god who founded Konoha. The second Hokage, Tobirama Senju, was the pioneer of Konoha, and under his control, Konoha became more and more prosperous. The third Hokage, Hiruzen Sarutobi, was the Hokage who truly pushed Konoha to the top, and the fourth Hokage, Minato Namikaze, who sacrificed himself to seal the Nine Tails in order. To protect Konoha from being harmed by the Nine Tails, for hundreds of years, they have been watching over the village and witnessed the village's step-by-step prosperity and strength. But now, there is another eye on the Hokage Rock watching all this. An eye emitting a blood-red glow, a masked man. The black robe rustled in the breeze, and the masked man stood on the Hokage Rock with his hands behind his back, quietly watching the village fall into silence. After a while, the single eye exposed by the orange-red mask with black stripes suddenly flashed, and he said in his usual low voice, "You are here." Behind the masked man, in the darkness, a figure slowly walked out, pale, with a hint of sick skin, long black hair, and golden vertical pupils, evil and cruel. Just looking at him gave people a chilling feeling, one of the 3 ninjas of Konoha who had defected from Konoha, and now a member of Akatsuki, Orochimaru. He, Orochimaru laughed, looking even more sinister and creepy. The masked man said, "You know everything about Konoha, right?" Long before he came to see Itachi, he had already sent someone to find Orochimaru from the Akatsuki organization to help. Qianye was the unexpected link in the previous plan. He has the strength of a Kage just by relying on physical skills. Even he, who has the Kamui space, suffered some minor losses due to carelessness, although, with him and Uchiha Itachi, and Danzo's root organization hiding in the dark, it stands to reason that there should be no accidents. However, when it comes to the plan of the Uchiha clan, he must be 100% sure and cannot allow any negligence. Orochimaru had a somewhat inexplicable look on his face. He looked at the masked man with his back to him and said, "I'm just a little curious, who can make the legendary Uchiha Madara see it as a trouble?" The masked man turned his head suddenly, and the red light of the single eye exposed by the mask was a little brighter than usual. The whole person's aura rose instantly, like a dragon emerging from the abyss, with a strong sense of oppression. Orochimaru laughed and said quickly, "I am just curious about this person after all, and I don't have any other intentions." The masked man stared at Orochimaru closely, and the cold murderous intent lasted for a moment before slowly dissipating. He slowly said, "My identity makes it inconvenient for me to take action." Orochimaru did not say anything more about this. No matter what the identity of the masked man is, whether it is Uchiha Madara, it doesn't matter to him. The masked man has his purpose, and he also has his plan. The two were originally combined because of their own interests. There is no point in delving into other things. Uchiha Qianye. Orochimaru asked. He had learned some information about Qianye from White Zetsu before. Yeah. The masked man nodded, paused for a moment, and then said, "He is very strong." Oh. Orochimaru became interested. He seemed to have heard of this name before he defected from Konoha, but, the impression was not very deep. He did not know it very well, but one thing is certain, that is, Uchiha Qianye was definitely not as outstanding as Uchiha Itachi among his generation. Otherwise, he would definitely have heard of it. What happened to make a ninja who was not very outstanding grow up to a person who made people at the level of the masked man a little afraid in a not so long period of time? Or, Uchiha Qianye himself is a person with high talent that can be compared with genius ninjas like Uchiha Itachi and Hatake Kakashi, but he has been hiding his abilities since he was a child. No matter which one of the two Qianye is, it is enough to make him excited. Especially, Qianye is a member of the Uchiha clan. Uchiha Sharingan. Interesting. Orochimaru could not help but stick out his slender tongue, licked his dry lips, and said with a somewhat cold smile, "I'll go meet him." Then, he disappeared from the spot with a body-flashing technique. The masked man continued to stand there, looking into the distance. Orochimaru seemed frivolous. In fact, he was just as cautious as him. He didn't need to tell him anything. It would be good to give it a try. Knowing the opponent's strength in advance would also be good for the implementation of their plan. More importantly, with the addition of Orochimaru, he finally felt more at ease. You know, those strange things of Orochimaru would be a little tricky even for him to deal with. It was already very late at night, and everything was silent. Qianye was still immersed in his practice. Since he had the Otsutsuki physique, the degree of improvement in his entire body function could only be described as exaggerated. For so long, he had been practicing like this almost every day, and he could still maintain extremely vigorous energy without any sense of fatigue. Qianye closed his eyes and guided the chakra to circulate in his body little by little. If there was a member of the Hyuga clan with the Byakugan here, he would definitely be amazed at the shocking amount of chakra in Qianye's body and Qianye's extremely precise control of chakra. At this time, in the dark outside the house, Orochimaru approached silently and saw Qianye, who was practicing in the room through the gap in the window. There was a faint smile on the corner of his mouth, and he was watching everything in the room like a cold venomous snake. Almost at the same time, Qianye, who had originally closed his eyes slightly, suddenly opened his eyes. The Sharingan opened instantly, emitting a blood-red light. The direction he was looking at was exactly where Orochimaru was, discovered? What a keen insight. Orochimaru was a little surprised, with his ability, if he wanted to hide, even a Kage-level strongman would not be able to find him so easily, but now, he was discovered immediately after he just approached. Such a keen insight, he had only seen it in the masked man with unfathomable strength. However, the masked man had the Mangekyo Sharingan. And what Qianye showed now was just a mere 3 Magatama Sharingan, but he could reach this level. He now understood why the masked man valued Qianye so much. Uchiha Qianye, this kid is really not simple. 3-day summer discount event, recharge 100 to get 500 VIP points. Recharge now, event time, August 13th to August 15th. Chapter 26. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Orochimaru, I just want your Uchiha bodies. Come out. Qianye stared at the place where Orochimaru was hiding and said lightly, even though he had not fully opened his Mangekyo Sharingan, but was only in the ordinary 3 Magatama form, his insight was far beyond the ordinary 3 Magatama Sharingan. This was how he could find Orochimaru's hiding place in the first place. However, I originally thought that after defeating the masked man, no one would come to trouble himself again. I didn't expect that there would be someone so ungrateful, hee. Such keen insight. What a remarkable little fellow. After the initial surprise, Orochimaru immediately came to his senses and concealed his inner emotions. Since he had been discovered, there was no need for him to hide any longer. His whole body twisted and slithered like a snake, and he appeared in Qianye's house in an instant. It's you, Orochimaru. Qianye's expression was calm, and his voice was very flat, without a trace of emotion. Regardless of the fact that he was a time traveler, it was impossible for him to not recognize Orochimaru. Even if he had lived in Konoha since he was a child, he would not fail to recognize this legendary 3 ninjas. But why did Orochimaru come here? In his memory, Orochimaru did not appear on the night of the Uchiha clan extermination. How could it be? Orochimaru's mouth corners were slightly raised, with a faint smile all the time. His eyes were evil, cold, and greedy, and just looking at them made people's hearts palpitate and their hair stand on end. Uchiha Qianye, good, very good. I didn't expect that besides Itachi, the Uchiha clan had such a perfect body. No, that's not right, your body is even better than Itachi's. It's really fascinating. At this point, Orochimaru greedily stretched out his tongue and licked it habitually. He was very satisfied with Qianye's body. Because of the existence of the masked man, Uchiha Itachi might be a little reluctant to move, but for Qianye, he could act openly without any worries. He could even ask the masked man and Itachi to help him when necessary. Even if Qianye was stronger, could he be stronger than the 3 Kage-level strongmen? Wouldn't he be in his pocket by then? Hearing Orochimaru's words, Qianye, as a time traveler, certainly would understand the meaning. In the original plot, Orochimaru coveted the power of the Sharingan. He once fixed his eyes on Uchiha Itachi's body. But he didn't expect Itachi to be so powerful that it was scary. It was not something Orochimaru could deal with at all, so he had to settle for the second best and chose Sasuke, and now, he actually made his wish come true. Qianye chuckled and didn't say anything, but the disdain and contempt in his eyes were already very obvious. Now he has the Otsutsuki physique, Mangekyo Sharingan, and would release. There must be people stronger than him in the world, but at the level of Kage, he must be one of the strongest, if not the strongest. Orochimaru is certainly not weak, but it also depends on who you are comparing with. Qianye is not afraid of Orochimaru at all now. He has enough capital, and Qianye's reaction also made Orochimaru's expression change a little. Have you been underestimated? This is the first time in so many years. Boy, young people should learn to be respectful and know how high the sky is and how deep the earth is. As soon as the voice fell, 5 or 6 large snakes suddenly jumped out from the ground and moved up at an extremely fast speed. Qianye had no time to react before he was firmly trapped and could not move his whole body. Is it only to this extent? It's really disappointing. Orochimaru looked up at Qianye with a scornful smile on his face. As early as when he appeared in the house, he had already set up a trap. What he was waiting for was to suddenly attack Qianye when he was not prepared and subdue Qianye. And the result? There was no surprise. It was even smoother than he thought. He even doubted whether the masked man was exaggerating. He was just a young boy. how could it be worth it for Orochimaru to do it himself? However, the result was not bad. It was worth it for him to get such a body that could almost be called perfect. While thinking about it, he was ready to take Qianye away from Konoha directly. As for the masked man's orders, plans, and the night of genocide, what did they have to do with him, Orochimaru? He didn't care at all. However, at this moment, Orochimaru's face suddenly changed. This, in front of him, Qianye, who was originally tied up by several big snakes and could not move, disappeared, and those big snakes were tied tightly to his body. Illusion. This is an illusion. But when did he fall into the illusion? Orochimaru's expression changed slightly, a little ferocious, and he was no longer the same as before. It turned out that when he was preparing to attack Qianye unexpectedly, Qianye had already set up an illusion in secret, and the illusion was very concealed, with almost no trace. Even he didn't notice it. Unknowingly, he fell into the current situation. No matter what you want to do, you can't hide from my eyes. Qianye said lightly, as calm as usual. No emotion could be heard. It seemed that catching Orochimaru, one of the legendary 3 ninjas of Konoha, was a common thing. Orochimaru's face was a little ferocious, and his heart was extremely restless. Sharingan, this is the power of Sharingan. Ordinary ninjas, even such a powerful being as him, have no room for resistance in front of Sharingan. Ah! Orochimaru roared, and spit out a big snake that was almost the same as the original from his mouth. As soon as it appeared, it broke through the window without entanglement and escaped. Apart from other things, Orochimaru's achievement in escaping is definitely not low. Even Qianye didn't react for a moment. Because it was too fast, and there was no need to conclude a ninjutsu, it could be released directly. It was really unexpected, and it ran away if you didn't pay attention. However, Qianye didn't feel too regretful. Since he could be caught once, he could be caught a second time. Next time, it won't be so easy to escape. What really made him pay attention was why Orochimaru came here. Originally, the Uchiha clan was exterminated. On the night of the 19th, there was no record of Orochimaru. Could it be that his appearance caused such a big change in the situation? Qianye made a slight guess in his mind and stopped thinking about it. It would take a few hours to conduct the next simulation. By then, the questions in his mind would naturally be answered. Now it is just a waste of time to think about it. It will be of no use at all. Qianye used the Sharingan to observe the surroundings, and after making sure that no one was watching around, he returned to his previous training state and began to practice. 3-day summer promotion, recharge 100 to get 500 VIP points. Recharge now. Activity time, August 13th to August 15th. Chapter 27. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Strength increases again. On the other side, Orochimaru successfully escaped from Qianye's residence and sneaked under the cover of the night. This brief fight with Qianye made him realize that Qianye was indeed a very difficult character. No wonder the masked man also came to deal with Qianye together. On the other hand, he really saw the power of the Sharingan. As early as when he was still in Konoha, he had coveted the Sharingan for a long time. It was only because of the powerful strength of the Uchiha clan and the intervention of Konoha village that he did not take action, and now, so many years have passed, he once again witnessed the power of the Sharingan. Under such eyes, all the calculations and ninjutsu that he was proud of did not work at all. As soon as he fought, he was defeated directly, without even a chance to resist. The Sharingan is really an extremely terrifying existence. But this can't extinguish his desire for the Sharingan at all. Instead, it makes him more eager to get the Sharingan. No, not just the Sharingan, only the blood of the Uchiha clan can perfectly use this pair of terrible eyes. What he wanted was a perfect body, Uchiha Chia's body. Orochimaru was sneaking forward, and a vortex suddenly appeared in front of him. A figure slowly emerged from the vortex. He was wearing a black robe and a samurai sword at his waist. He wore an orange mask with black stripes on his face, revealing only one eye. That eye was glowing with a dark red light. Within the red light, 3 Magatama were connected to each other, forming a blade-like shape. The masked man, have you tried it? You look a little embarrassed. The masked man said lightly. Orochimaru half-squinted his eyes. He suffered a loss at the hands of a junior who was so much younger than him, and fled in a mess. He was even bumped into by the masked man. This made his face look a little ugly. After a slight pause, he regained his usual calm appearance and said, Uchiha Qianye, he is indeed a powerful character. when the plan comes, are you sure? The masked man asked. Orochimaru smiled, his face full of confidence. Even though he had seen Qianye's strength, his determination was still not shaken. Of course, no matter how powerful Uchiha Qianye is, he can never be a match for those two. Those two? The masked man asked. Orochimaru stuck out his tongue lightly, with a strange look on his face, and made hand seals. Immortal reincarnation. Bang! On the ground, two coffins emerged little by little and stood in front of Orochimaru and the masked man. Boom! The coffin door opened, revealing the corpse inside. The masked man's pupils suddenly shrank, and he seemed a little surprised. This is rarely seen in the masked man who always claims to be Uchiha Madara and shows himself calm and majestic. It can be seen that the existence in the coffin has a strong impact on him. Indeed, Orochimaru's words are very right. With these two people here, even if Uchiha Qianye has great ability, he can't think of reversing or changing anything. In a few hours, the system will be cooled down. What awaits Qianye will be the third simulation. In the first simulation, he obtained the Otsutsuki physique. In the second simulation, he obtained the wood release. After the end, he also obtained the Mangekyo Sharingan. What about the third simulation? Thinking about it really makes people feel extremely excited. Qianye sat in the room waiting for the time to come. Before that, he had asked for leave from the Konoha guard department in order to have a whole day to simulate. According to the conclusions drawn before, what happens in real life will affect the situation in the simulation. These 2 days have been relatively peaceful. What happened is relatively simple. In addition to the daily work of the guard department, there are 3 things. The first is that the clan leader Uchiha Fugaku told him that the Uchiha clan was planning to revolt. The second is the conversation between Uchiha Itachi and him. The third is Qianye's fight with the masked man. Of these 3 things, the first thing is the same as the trajectory of the original story. The Uchiha clan will definitely rebel. Konoha has been prepared for a long time. The only difference is that he knows it. However, Qianye has no intention of intervening. Therefore, the first thing had little impact on the simulation. Although Uchiha Itachi came to him, nothing special happened. It will not have any impact on the future. The last point is more important. His fight with the masked man, although it played a role in shocking the tiger, it also exposed his own strength. During this simulation, the situation he faced was bound to be more dangerous. However, this did not make Qianye feel a little afraid. There was only a stronger excitement. He liked the feeling of facing challenges, meeting challenges, and then improving himself step by step in the challenges. In the second simulation, Qianye, who had the physique of Otsutsuki and would release, already had the ability to fight Uchiha Itachi to death. Now, with the addition of the Mangekyo Sharingan, his strength has greatly increased. What will happen when facing Uchiha Itachi again? And what new moves will the masked man have? Thinking of this, Qianye couldn't help but get excited and wanted to start the simulation immediately to try what level his current strength had reached. He exhaled a long breath and looked at the clock hanging on the strong 10:38. Almost, there are less than 2 hours left. During the following period of time, Qianye did not practice ninjutsu as before. Instead, he sat at home, closed his eyes and rested, recalling the situation encountered in the last simulated fight. The experience and insights gained from fighting with Uchiha Itachi. Practice is definitely not just about working hard, it also requires thinking and brainstorming to sort out and summarize. From it, you can find many of your own advantages, and at the same time you can see your own shortcomings, so as to improve yourself. Soon, more than an hour passed in the blink of an eye. The Uchiha clan extermination night simulation system has finished cooling down. The Uchiha clan extermination night simulation system is starting up. The Uchiha clan extermination night simulation system has been activated. As time passed, several lines of transparent text appeared in front of Qianye's eyes. The system starts simulating, Qianye said directly. The Uchiha clan extermination night simulation begins. The current solidified ability, Otsutsuki physique, golden ability, has a super strong self-healing ability, which is comparable to an immortal body when it reaches the extreme state. At the same time, it can also absorb ninjutsu, and the chakra it can possess is almost infinite. Therefore, it is also called the immortal body. Would release, golden ability, a unique secret technique created by the first Hokage, Hashirama Senju. It is a kind of bloodline limit, which is composed of water and earth chakras. It is a ninjutsu that the caster uses his own chakra as the source of life. Currently available abilities: Illusion Master, Purple Ability, Eye Power plus 100, Blue Ability, Elemental Controller, Purple Ability. As abilities appeared one after another, Qianye's face also showed a bit of surprise. In the past, most of the abilities that appeared were blue, white was also very common, purple was much rarer, gold could only be refreshed once a day. This was only the first simulation, and 2 purple abilities appeared directly. It was really rare. Qianye carefully selected them and prepared to start the simulation. Otsutsuki Physique, Golden Ability has super strong self-healing ability, comparable to immortality when in the extreme state, and can also absorb ninjutsu, and the chakra it can possess is almost infinite. Therefore, it is also called the immortal body. Would Release, Golden Ability, a unique secret technique created by the first Hokage, Hashirama Senju. It is a kind of bloodline limit, which is composed of water and earth chakras. It is a ninjutsu that the caster uses his own chakra as the source of life. Illusion Master, Purple Ability. When casting an illusion, there will be a huge increase in power, and the resistance to illusions will also be significantly improved. Elemental Master, Purple Ability. When performing any attribute ninjutsu, the power will be greatly enhanced. Pupil Power plus 100, Blue Ability. Pupil Power is slightly enhanced. There are 5 abilities in total, 2 gold, 2 purple, and 1 blue. It is truly luxurious. Ability selection complete. The simulation of the night of the Uchiha clan Extermination begins. With the appearance of this line of transparent text, Qianye appeared in the very familiar scene again, the dark night, the cold wind blowing. Different from the last simulation. When he just came into the simulation, he had already keenly noticed some abnormalities. This is the huge improvement brought by the 3 Magatama Sharingan after it evolved into the Mangekyo Sharingan. The keen perception told him that someone was approaching outside. There was only one person. Needless to say, he already knew the identity of that person, Uchiha, Itachi. Facing this old opponent, Qianye did not hide and attack like last time. Instead, he sat directly in the house, waiting for Itachi to arrive. Before, even with Would Release, Qianye could only fight Uchiha Itachi 50-50, and it was difficult to win. So some other means had to be used. But now, Qianye has opened the Mangekyo Sharingan on the basis of the original Otsutsuki Physique and Would Release, and his strength has greatly increased. He is confident that he can defeat Uchiha Itachi openly. There is no need to resort to any other means. The atmosphere is quiet and solemn, only the whirring of the wind and the almost inaudible footsteps can be heard. Qianye sat in the room, facing the door, sensing the footsteps getting closer and closer. Finally, squeak. The door opened, a masked boy walked in. Uchiha, Itachi. 3-day summer promotion, top up 100 and get 500 VIP points. Top up now. Event time, August 13th to August 15th. Chapter 28. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Uchiha Itachi, I was careless. I didn't dodge. You are here. Qianye said calmly. You knew I was coming? Itachi asked in surprise. He had never expected the current situation. Qianye laughed and didn't explain much. I'm here to kill you. Itachi said calmly, as if he was talking about something trivial. His tone was full of confidence. As he spoke, he took out a kunai. At the same time, the blood-red Sharingan lit up with a dazzling red light. Mangekyo Sharingan illusion, Tsukimi. He dared to look directly at his Mangekyo Sharingan at such a close distance. He was really courting death. Before coming, the masked man and Danzo had explained to him in every possible way. Uchiha Qianye was a trouble and not easy to deal with. Is this the result? It's really disappointing. The Tsukimi world was blood-red. Qianye was hanging on the cross, unable to move. Uchiha Itachi stood in front of him with a knife in his hand. How can a 3 Magatama Sharingan block my Mangekyo Sharingan? Qianye, I don't want to kill you, but I have to kill you. Don't worry, under my monthly reading, everything will be quick and there won't be too much pain. The word stopped abruptly. Itachi suddenly groaned and trembled. When he raised his head again, the Tsukimi world that was originally full of red light had disappeared, and there were 2 bright red tears on his face. In front of him, Qianye's eyes were flashing with the same enchanting red light. The three magatama in it were connected to each other, forming a blade-like shape, Mangekyo. Sharingan. You actually opened the Mangekyo Sharingan as well. Uchiha Itachi said in a deep voice with a look of surprise on his face. He knew that he was careless, because of the error in the intelligence. He mistakenly believed that Jiang Chen's Sharingan was only in the three magatama state. Therefore, he would directly use his Mangekyo Sharingan illusion, Tsukuyomi. This ninjutsu has superpower. Once hit, the opponent can lose all resistance in an instant, thus determining the outcome of the battle, but at the same time, when performing this trick, there is an extremely huge danger. If the target of Tsukuyomi's technique has a higher pupil power than the caster himself, Tsukuyomi will fail. Thus backfire on itself. That's why Itachi had 2 lines of blood and tears on his face just now, but this situation is extremely rare. The Sharingan is unique to the Uchiha clan, which allows them to have absolute pupil power suppression when facing outsiders. When using Tsukuyomi on outsiders, unless the difference in strength between the two sides is too great, there will basically be no failure in the performance. And for people within the Uchiha clan, the Mangekyo Sharingan is also very rare. Over the past hundreds of years, the number of people who have opened the Mangekyo Sharingan can be counted on one hand. Who would have thought that today I would run into one by chance? You are not the only one in the world who has the Mangekyo Sharingan. Qianye stood up slowly and said lightly, the novel was taken from the Rawla's website. Close where you're reading it and support us on our website for more free novels. This is the importance of hiding one's strength. It made Uchiha Itachi misjudge his strength. In addition, because of the blessing of the purple ability Illusion Master, his resistance to illusions has been significantly improved, and the blue ability Pupil Power plus 100 has slightly enhanced his pupil power. With the blessing of all these factors, Uchiha Itachi was severely injured as soon as they fought. Itachi wiped the blood and tears on his face, and threw the kunai and shuriken on his body like crazy. At the same time, the whole person used the instant body technique to retreat violently and keep a distance. According to the masked man, Qianye reached the level of Kage by relying solely on physical skills. The strength of physical skills is incredible, and Uchiha Itachi is a genius ninja who is famous in the Uchiha clan and even in the entire Konoha. Any of his skills have reached an outstanding level, but yes, the reason why he became a Kage is because of his Mangekyo Sharingan and illusion. As for physical skills, although they are not weak, they have not reached the level of Kage, obviously. They are not as good as Qianye's, so Itachi chose to keep his distance at the first time to avoid physical confrontation. When fighting against others, you should play to your strengths and avoid your weaknesses. Instead of acting recklessly, you should choose different strategies to win the battle according to the opponent you are facing. Previously, because of carelessness, he rashly used Tsukuyomi on Qianye, but failed and suffered backlash. There is no need to compete in ice skills. Physical skills happen to be Qianye's strong point, so it is not a wise choice, and Itachi's advantage lies in his excellent ninjutsu and shuriken jutsu. If you want to win, you must find a way to start from these two aspects. In just a moment, Itachi had decided on the way to fight. Fire style, great fireball technique. Just after throwing the shuriken, Itachi immediately performed the ninjutsu without any pause. His movements were smooth and there was no lag, and the speed of the seal was also jaw-dropping. Looking from the side, it was as if countless shurikens still in the air were followed by a huge fireball. Before the shurikens arrived, the overwhelming heat wave had already swept over. In response, Qianye used the same ninjutsu to fight back. Fire style, great fireball technique. A huge flame gushed out of Qianye's mouth, gradually forming a huge fireball, rolling away. The dense kunai and shurikens, like raindrops, were blown away and melted before they even touched the fireball. It showed an exaggerated destructive power. It was much more powerful than the last simulation of releasing the same ninjutsu. This was because Qianye's 3 Magatama Sharingan evolved into the Mangekyo Sharingan, which brought about the enhanced strength. It was also because the purple elemental controller enhanced the fire-style ninjutsu. Then the 2 huge fireballs collided with a loud bang, making a very loud explosion. The hot flames that could burn everything spread out from the explosion point, raising dust all over the sky. When they touched the leaves and houses nearby, huge flames were instantly raised. Everything around them turned into a sea of fire. What a terrible power. It was just 2 sea-level ninjutsu. Any chunin, even genin, could easily release ninjutsu of the same level, but when Qianye and Uchiha Itachi used it, it was so terrifying that it was amazing. I'm afraid that the aftermath of the explosion alone would be enough to make many Chunin-level ninjas difficult to deal with. However, Qianye and Uchiha Itachi, who were fighting fiercely on the battlefield, had no intention of lamenting these. The terrifying aftermath of the fireball explosion made them pause for a moment, and then they immediately fought again. The amazing amount of chakra and the unimaginable speed of seal formation were dazzling and breathtaking. The Uchiha clan was originally a family that was very good at fire escape. Now, under the performance of two Kage-level masters, various fire-style ninjutsu are frequently launched, accompanied by shurikens and kunai hidden in them, and there is murderous intent everywhere. 3-day summer promotion, top up 100 and get 500 VIP points. Top up now, activity time, August 13th to August 15th. Chapter 29. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Powerful physical skills. The two experienced more than a dozen clashes of ninjutsu. Even Qianye, who has the physique of an Otsutsuki, felt the huge consumption of chakra and was slightly tired. Itachi's pupil power was damaged at the beginning and suffered backlash. Now after consuming a huge amount of chakra, his physical condition is even worse. He half squinted his eyes, his head was full of fine beads of sweat, he was breathing heavily, and his condition was not good. It was not until now that he understood why the masked man made a special trip to find him and told him that Qianye was the biggest obstacle to the night of genocide. It was really amazing. It even made him doubt that even if he had not been careless before and rashly used Tsukuyomi and suffered backlash, he might not have defeated Qianye. With the Mangekyo Sharingan, his pupil power is not inferior to his. The confrontation in ninjutsu is equal, the physical skills are much better than him. Uchiha Qianye, for so many years, has been hiding really deeply, but fortunately, he also has a backhand. Qianye's expression was calm, with only a hint of excitement in the red Mangekyo Sharingan. He longed for a life-and-death duel with a powerful opponent. His blood could not help but boil. Uchiha Itachi was really an extremely powerful opponent. In the simulation, he was at the peak of his combat power since he had the system. 2 golden abilities plus Mangekyo Sharingan plus 2 purple talents plus 1 blue talent. His abilities and pupil skills, ninjutsu, and physical skills had all reached their strongest state, but even so, he still couldn't make a quick decision when facing Uchiha Itachi, who was backlashed from the beginning. He fought a ninjutsu battle and was evenly matched with him. However, it should be over now. He had a Mangekyo Sharingan and an Otsutsuki constitution. The amount of chakra in his body was much more than that of an ordinary Kage-level warrior. Even so, releasing ninjutsu so frequently was a big drain on him, but compared to his huge amount of chakra, it was completely bearable. But Itachi was not sure. In an instant, Qianye jumped into the air and concluded a ninjutsu, fire-style fire dragon flame bomb. From Qianye's mouth, 3 scorching fire dragons with the energy to destroy everything surged out. From the left, middle and right directions at an extremely fast speed, they flew towards Uchiha Itachi at the same time. This is a high-level ninjutsu in fire style, which has extremely high requirements for the amount of chakra and the control of chakra, but correspondingly, its power is also extremely terrifying. The scorching fire dragons burned the moisture in the air, destroying everything close to it and assimilating it into flames. This time, Uchiha Itachi did not choose to fight head-on, not because he couldn't, but because he didn't want to. With his current chakra amount, he must be very careful. He can't squander it as he did before. He no longer has the capital to squander. Instant body technique. Dodge. 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 Between a point and a jump, Uchiha Itachi moved at a very amazing speed. However, the 3 fire dragons with terrifying arrogance stared at him, and he couldn't get rid of them no matter what. Moreover, there were more and more approaching. Trend. Finally, 3 fire dragons surrounded from different directions. Itachi had nowhere to hide. Boom. 3 fire dragons smashed straight down, sparks burst, and set off a sea of fire all over the sky. The terrifying heat wave spread to the surroundings, and even a few meters away, one could still feel the burning sensation. Solved. Qianye used the Mangekyo Sharingan to carefully observe the center of the sea of fire. Theoretically, if an ordinary ninja was hit by such a terrifying flame, there would be no possibility of survival. However, Uchiha Itachi was not an ordinary ninja, and it was impossible to judge by common sense. Suddenly, Qianye's eyes flashed, his Mangekyo Sharingan keenly sensed that there was some danger approaching on his left side, although this feeling was very weak, but it still aroused his vigilance. Looking sideways, I saw a huge fireball rolling towards him, fire escape great fireball technique. Qianye raised his eyebrows. Is that all? This doesn't look like Uchiha Itachi. Fire style, great fireball technique. He used the same ninjutsu to confront head-on, boom. A huge explosion, with a wave of air that destroyed everything rolling everywhere. At this moment, a shadow slowly appeared behind Qianye, Uchiha Itachi. He held a samurai sword in his hand and slashed at Qianye fiercely. The previous fire style, great fireball technique was just a cover, the knife that appeared behind him was the real killer move. At this time, Qianye was looking forward, his eyes fixed on the aftermath of the explosion of the fireball in front of him. It seemed as if he could see the trace of Uchiha Itachi in it. He didn't realize that the real crisis had quietly appeared behind him. Itachi's knife fell heavily with a lightning speed. It slashed at Qianye's neck, a fatal blow. However, the kind of blockage that the sword would cause when it slashed the flesh did not come. The sharp blade passed through the air. Qianye was like a bubble, bursting at the touch and disappearing. Clone. Uchiha Itachi's pupils shrank. He didn't expect that even with his Mangekyo Sharingan, he couldn't see through Qianye's clone. How is this possible? This is the Mangekyo Sharingan, which has extraordinary observation capabilities. Even if it was backlashed before and its pupil power was damaged, it is impossible for it to not see through a mere shadow clone. Could it be, is Uchiha Qianye really that strong? It's unimaginable. However, now what he should be more worried about is not this, rather, since he cut down Qianye's shadow clone, where is the real Qianye? Almost instantly, Itachi's eyes widened suddenly. If he were in his place, he would definitely choose to attack at the right time and end the fight between the two in one fell swoop, and the most appropriate time is now. He turned his head suddenly. He saw that Qianye had appeared behind him without knowing when. With a kunai in his hand, he stabbed down heavily. That speed, that reaction, that unstoppable. This is the physical technique that killed Kuroki Raiga, one of the 7 ninja swordsmen, instantly. This is the technique that makes the unfathomable masked man so very cautious. Physical skills. Before, he didn't believe it. He thought that as long as he had the Mangekyo Sharingan, he could keep the situation firmly in his hands no matter what situation he encountered, but now, he found out that he was wrong. Relying on the Mangekyo Sharingan, he could see every move of Qianye, but the eyes could keep up, but the body couldn't react at all. Qianye was really too fast. It was incredible and unimaginable. Uchiha Itachi gritted his teeth and performed ninjutsu to avoid it. The kunai in Qianye's hand fell heavily. 3-day summer promotion, recharge 100 to get 500 VIP points. Recharge now, activity time, August 13th to August 15th. Chapter 30. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Technique. Izanagi. Referee, someone is cheating. Hiss. Itachi uttered a muffled groan. A stream of bright red blood burst out of the air, but was immediately dried up by the hot air and disappeared. Only the faint smell of blood remained in the air. Bang. Qianye's kunai stabbed down heavily. Finally, it landed on a piece of wood. Substitution technique. Such a fast seal-making speed, amazing. The original Black Hole Raiga had nowhere to hide under Qianye's physical technique and was defeated directly, but now Itachi, facing Qianye who is much stronger than before, under the same moves, he can use the substitute technique. Although he is injured, he can still save his life. Such a fast seal-making speed, even Qianye now may not be able to do it. However, at this moment, behind Qianye, a figure quietly appeared in the air. A monster with a human head and a snake body appeared, Orochimaru. He has a bloody mouth and a sword in his mouth and attacks Qianye. At this time, Qianye had just stabbed Itachi's substitution technique and was still in the air. There was no point of force, and even if he noticed the abnormality at the first time, it was useless. There was no place to hide. Orochimaru's bloody mouth bit down heavily, and the Kusanagi sword and sharp teeth instantly pierced Qianye's shoulder. bright red blood spurted out, Qianye's body also solidified in an instant, motionless, stabbed. Orochimaru opened his mouth and licked the trace of blood stuck to the corner of his mouth with his tongue. He became more excited. He knew that the dust had settled. Qianye's injury was not fatal, after all. He still needed this perfect body to use, but there was absolutely no strength left to resist. He was sure, there was absolutely no one in the world who could be safe and sound after receiving this blow. Itachi also showed up, covering his injured left arm, and did not stand with Orochimaru. There was still a distance between the two. He did not trust Orochimaru, especially now that he had just fought with Uchiha Qianye and was injured. His overall condition was not good. If Orochimaru had any bad intentions now, it would be bad for him. Even if he only possesses physical skills, he is already a Kage-level warrior, and he has also opened the Mangekyo Sharingan. Uchiha Qianye really doesn't disappoint. Orochimaru's voice was full of teasing, complacency, and excitement. There was no doubt that Qianye was very strong, a Kage-level warrior of the same realm as him, or even better than him, but what's the use of being strong? Didn't he fall into his hands? Itachi finally breathed a sigh of relief. Qianye was really terribly strong. Although he was reluctant to admit it, he had to admit it. In the battle just now, if Orochimaru hadn't appeared, he would probably be completely defeated in a short time. Even in his prime, he was not sure of defeating Qianye. This made him, who had been regarded as a genius ninja since birth, feel for the first time the feeling of defeat, but fortunately, it's all over. No. Itachi Uchiha's Mangekyo Sharingan instantly lit up with a blood-red light, and his eyes scanned the surroundings. Following closely, Orochimaru also suddenly became cautious, because, in front of them, Qianye's body and blood disappeared without a trace. And they didn't notice it at all. What a terrible thing this is. Both of them had a guess at the same time. Qianye is not dead. Although they were very sure that Orochimaru had bitten him and there would be no mistakes, but this ominous feeling is very obvious. On the side of the two, under the reflection of the firelight, a pair of Mangekyo Sharingan flashed a charming red light. Uchiha Qianye. Orochimaru's face changed, with a bit of solemnity and surprise on his face. The red light emitted by Uchiha Itachi's eyes became brighter. Qianye was clearly bitten, there is no doubt about this. But he appeared safe and sound. This reminded him of a forbidden technique that belongs only to the Uchiha family. Izanagi. Uchiha Itachi said in a deep voice, Izanagi. It is said that it was born from the Six Paths Sage's ninjutsu, creation of all things, and it is the ultimate ninjutsu that can change reality. Within the duration of this ninjutsu, no matter what kind of damage the caster receives, even death can be easily restored to its original state. Qianye's current situation can only be explained by this ninjutsu, but not right. After thinking about it for a while, he noticed something abnormal. No, not Izanagi. The reason why Izanagi is considered a forbidden technique is not only because of its abnormal ability, but also because the price paid for performing this ninjutsu is also very high. That is, the eye that uses Izanagi will be permanently blind. Your eyes are not damaged at all. Unless, your Mangekyo Sharingan pupil technique is Izanagi. Uchiha Itachi's expression changed slightly, and he could hardly hide his surprise. With his usually calm personality, such an expression rarely appeared on his face. This pupil technique is really too abnormal. It can be called the most perfect pupil technique. More importantly, ordinary Uchiha clan members pay a price with a Sharingan to perform this ninjutsu, and Qianye only consumes pupil power when performing the same ninjutsu. In comparison, the gap is too big. Qianye, who originally possessed super high physical skills and Mangekyo Sharingan, was already difficult to deal with. He could only rely on sneak attacks to kill him once by chance, and now, having Izanagi is equivalent to having an immortal body. No matter what kind of damage he suffers, it will be turned into a dream and instantly restored. How can he fight this? Qianye's expression was calm. He recognized that this was Izanagi after just one look. Moreover, he could quickly infer that this was his Mangekyo Sharingan. Sharingan Ninjutsu. Uchiha Itachi is really powerful. However, this only makes him more excited. Itachi is now exhausted after the fierce battle just now and is no longer his opponent. Orochimaru is different. The last confrontation in real life was just a simple test. not even a fight, he has long wanted to have a real battle with Orochimaru. Qianye took a step and walked towards Itachi and Orochimaru step by step, facing a Kage-level strongman who opened the Mangekyo Sharingan and one of the 3 legendary ninjas of Konoha alone, but he was calm and eager to try. On the contrary, the masked man and Itachi were on high alert and very cautious. It seemed like they were facing something extremely terrifying. At this time, a vortex slowly appeared, wrapped Itachi and Orochimaru in it, and slowly disappeared from the spot. When it reappeared, in addition to Itachi and Orochimaru, there was one more person, masked man. The 3 of them stood together on a large rock in the distance. Aren't you coming out yet? It's not entirely our job to deal with this kid. For some reason, the masked man suddenly said such a confusing sentence. There was silence in the air, there was only the sound of the whistling wind and the crackling sound of the burning fire. The masked man snorted coldly, "Let's go." Before coming here, he had slaughtered the Uchiha clan, only Qianye was left in front of him. He had already got what he wanted. Since the people of Konoha didn't care, there was no need for him to stay. 3-day summer discount event, recharge 100 and get 500 VIP points. Recharge now, event time, August 13th to August 15th.